Hello and welcome back to my new Niagara video series. My name is Charles Johnson, lead trainer and technical engineer at Lynxspring. And today we're going to go over program services, or the batch editor. For me, this is a very powerful tool. We can search up components and even add components to the station or remove components from the station. We can edit slots. We can add all kinds of extensions. There are many things that we can do in program services, and I'm going to show you some today. And then after that, I'll chat just a little bit about how I became an aficionado. Arguably, this is my favorite thing to demo in the N4 certification training that I do. Just because even though we only have a short time together in that week that I'm training, I still want to show them the more powerful side of Niagara, and program services is one of them. So the first thing that we want to do before we make any changes to program services to our station is we're going to back it up. And I'm going to right-click on my station and select Backup Station. And when I do, it's going to take me to the current path where this is under, and I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. Now, the reason why I always recommend that you do a station copy or a backup of your station is because with program services, while very powerful, you can really do a lot of damage with your station. And unlike other things that we do, such as just doing BQL queries or tagging, it's not very friendly. It's easy to screw up BQL queries because they just won't work. Adding rules to tag dictionaries, cool, the dictionary won't work, and that's fine, and you can fix that. But you can do some real damage with program services, and it's very difficult to actually make those changes again. Okay, so my station is now backed up, and the first place I'm going to go is program service. This is located under my config space, under my services container, about, we'll say, 2/3 of the way down. And just double-click Program Service. Go ahead and clear this right now, because I was doing some searching a little bit earlier. Now, what you just saw there was just some space temps. And what I have here is I created 4 floors of 25 VAVs, each per floor. So we have 100 VAVs that we're going to be modifying some things to. And when I click on here, we see that we have no graphic. We have no link to our schedule. And even when we go to invoke some actions on some of these points, we see that we still have the emergency active and active auto, that kind of thing. And some of these we don't want our customer to really have. So I'm going to show you how to kind of edit all this here, even the set points as well. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do is I notice that my space temp is missing an E. And that's because, well, I'm human. I misspelled and forgot the E. Well, I'd like to add this to every single point that I have. And I'm going to go ahead and get my Control T on here so you can see the difference quickly when I do this. So back in Program Services, I'm now going to find an object, and I'm going to go ahead and use the BQL Query Builder. Now, we can even do NQL builders here as well. We're not going to do that for this case. However, I'm just going to look under the config space, period. So this is going to be my base org, just looking under config, because I have 4 folders that I would like to get to. And I'm going to just look for a component. Now, if I wanted to, I could search for just a numeric point. However, I only have one thing that's called space temp here. And so now I'm going to match this, and here's my predicate, or part of my projection, sorry, where name is equal to space temp. Sorry, that is part of the predicate. Okay. And you see that I did something wrong there. I need to remove the E first because I want to add the E. And now it's just search for all 100 objects for spacetemp. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and multi-select them all. And I'm going to right-click and just go to Rename. And I'm going to find TMP and rename it TMP or TEMP and hit OK. Now we can see that all my components have been renamed. And you can see here it's been renamed. Well, I'm sure that if we're doing this for a customer site, that they'd like some graphics for their VAV. Well, under my file space, go ahead and close as much as I can. I have a PX folder, and I have this VAV PX. Now you can see a lot of it's gone here, and that's because it has been relativized for my VAV. Let's say this was an existing graphic that I used from another site. Well, I can add this graphic to all my VAV folders. So now let's go back to Program Services and clear all. I'm going to find my objects here, and now I'm going to look for the folder component where name is like VAV asterisk. And now it's brought all my VAVs in, now all my folders though. And now what I'm going to do, instead of just renaming everything because I don't want to rename, I'm now going to add a slot to this folder. Remember that components are comprised of slots. So this folder here, if I were to go to the AX slot sheet, we see that we have a bunch of properties on this folder, but that's just because everything has been added to it. Now if I go to this one here, and go to the slot sheet this, you can just see that all the points are located in this folder. The folder is the component, and now we've added these points in there. So now we don't have a PX view, and that's what we're going to be adding. So now I'm going to add a slot, and I'm going to rename this, VAV PX. And now under the new type, I'm going to go to Baja, and I'm going to scroll down to PX view. And now I get to actually search for my PX file. So I'm going to go ahead to my PX folder, which is under my file space, and I'm going to select VAVPX and hit OK. And it's now added a PX view to all my folders. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and now we can see that we have everything here. Now, you see here that my occupied cool set point does not have a facet. It just has 74. And if I go into the wire sheet and I go look for this cool set point, we can see that I just didn't add a slot, or I didn't add a facet. Now I could go to each individually and change the facets. However, I don't have time to change all 100 of them. So let's go back to Program Services. And now we see the point is called OcCoolSP. So let's go ahead and clear all. And now let's find the objects. And now we'll find a numeric point. And we're going to do whose name is equal to OcCoolSP. So to edit an existing component, or edit a slot in a component, we are going to hit the Edit Slot button. When I do, the facets come up, and of course some other things fall back. Any slots that are common to each of these points are going to show up. So we're going to change the facets to degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to hit OK. So now if I go back to my point here, and I can go to any of my VVs, and you can see that it doesn't just change one, it changes them all. Now let's go ahead and look at my fan command, and we can see that I have all these slots here. And I have it for EH1, EH2, and EH3 command. All right, well, let's go ahead and hide some of them, shall we? And I'll go ahead and keep this window up, and I'm going to go ahead and go back to Program Services. Now let's go ahead and look for what those points are called, which are these four right here that I'm going to change. I'm going to find components whose name is equal to fan command. And then I can continue to add EH1 underscore command, EH2 underscore command, and EH3. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit my slot flags. So if I wanted to change this individually, again, I'll get my Control T on. I'm going to choose another random folder. And the reason why I'm choosing random folders is that so you know that this is going to affect every single component that I'm doing this to. So to change slots or to hide these slots, normally you would right-click on a component, go to Views, AX Slot Sheet. You would go to the ones that you want, and then you would right-click on that and go to Config Flags and change it to Hidden. Again, I don't have time for all that. So I'm going to edit my slot flags, and I'm going to go to Emergency Active, and now the flag is hidden, and the Set flag is checked. So I can see that the Emergency Active is now hidden. Now if I were to right click on this one here, now we can see Emergency Active has been taken away. And now we're going to continue to edit these slot flags. Emergency Auto. And we're going to go ahead and do the Emergency Active or Inactive. And then we're going to do the Set. So now I can see that I only have active, inactive, and auto on all my points. Well, while I like active, inactive, and auto, customers may not really understand those terms. So let's go ahead and put something in there that they'll actually understand. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a slot here, and I'm going to name it Display Names. And we're going to go to Baja and Name Map. And now we're going to say active equals override on, and we're going to put a semicolon. Inactive equals override off, semicolon, and then auto equals automatic control. Now, every time you change this, you do have to put a semicolon here. That is important, otherwise the syntax does not work. And now I'm going to go ahead and select OK. So now we see that the display names of them have been done. So what did that do? Now if I right click, we see override on, override off, and automatic control. Now, I thought I needed quotation marks, but apparently I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and now edit this slot flag, this here, and just take all the quotation marks out. I thought you needed them, but apparently you do not. Maybe you never needed them, and I'm just being imaginary here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK now. Okay. Now let's go back and try that. Override on, override off, automatic control. So you can do this with any of the components that I have. But, you know, I could then add like damper command. Tell you what, we'll do that one too. Let's go ahead and clear this. Now let's find my damper command. And now let's go ahead and try that again. We're going to add a slot. Again, it's going to be called display names. And we're going to go to Baja name map. And now we'll say override equals override damper semicolon auto equals release damper override. Cannot parse. Why? Because I didn't add a semicolon after I told you that you needed to. So let's go back and do that again. Now, some things it won't let you do. Like if the syntax is off, it's not going to go through. So that one is always good. That's kind of like the catch-all there. So again, let's go back to override equals override damper position semicolon auto equals release damper override. And you still need a semicolon, regardless. Now if I do this, and I look at my damper command, now I did not hide the emergency override and emergency auto. I just wanted to show you that now these slots have been changed. But again, to hide all of them, you'll just go to edit slot flags and take the emergency auto, the emergency override, and then the set, and hit OK. All right. Two more things. I talked about in this VAV that I have an occupancy command. Well, I want to make sure that this works solely on a building schedule. Currently, right now, it's just occupied 24/7. So now let's go ahead and clear all, and let's find this occupancy command. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a slot, and it's going to be called link, Baja link. And now the source ord, I can go ahead and go to my component chooser and search for my schedule. And now the source slot. Remember, this is always the left side of our component. In this case here, it's going to be out, and our target is always the right side of our component. In this case here, we're going to say in 10. Now, what have I done? I've just created a link to link from my schedule to my VAV. We see now it's unoccupied. To show you, here I can right-click on my schedule, go to Views, and go to Relation Sheet, and we can see now it's been linked to all 100 VAVs. Now, one more, are we going to do one more, or should we do two more? Thinking for a moment. Let's go ahead and just do one more here. I'm going to go ahead and clear this now. Now, let's say I'm going to go back to my space temp variable that I changed the name to. Currently, it has no history. Well, let's go ahead and find the space temp again by going to name equals space temp. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a slot. And now, instead of Baja, I'm going to call this just history. And instead of Baja, I'm going to go to history. And I am going to go to my numeric interval history extension. Right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'll do 15 minutes at 672 records, which means that's going to be 1 week's worth of trends. And I'm going to change the history name to parent.parent.name %_parent.name. So, which means that I'm looking for the parent of my spacetemp, because the parent of the history extension is the spacetemp, but I need its parent, which is right here. And you know what? I'll go ahead and enable these all at once. And I'm going to hit OK. This one might take a moment. Okay. Fairly fast. All right. I've now added a history to all my spacetemp variables. And if I were to just do this, and just expand this, and go to history, we can see now that all my spacetemp all my spacetemp points are here, and they are named the way that I want. Those are the couple, those right there, being able to create a link. So it needs to be Baja link. To create, to add a history, it's going to be the history and do whatever history extension you want. Now, the thing you're not going to be able to do just through program services alone is adding alarm extensions. The reason being is that adding alarm extensions requires a multi-function program. So Vicon Pro has a great one. You can also do this in creating a robot. And maybe we'll, if we get into that kind of video of creating robots, maybe that's the one that we will do to add, to have our own alarm object our own program to add those there. But Vicon Pro has a nice one to do automatically. Now, the reason how I learned all of this wasn't through a class. I've never been through the advanced class, and I know that they teach some of this stuff. I'm not sure of everything that they teach there. However, all I would do over the years in my Niagara programming, I would just right-click on components and look at the slot sheet. So in BACnet, we have tuning policies, and you see here I have a rewrite policy. And this is because some BACnet objects do not have a guaranteed periodic refresh rate like in LON. So in LON, after 60 seconds, it's just going to go ahead and refresh itself. BACnet, not so much. Sometimes it doesn't come back at all. So it's important to write to those objects. And you can do that with the rewrite policy. Well, how do we do that across points that we actually need to do this for? So, like in our hot water pump, well, we have this proxy extension, right? And then we have the tuning policy here. You can go through each of these and change them. But what if you had a ton of these to do, right? So there are a couple ways to do this. One, you can go to AX slot sheet, and you can look for this proxy extension here. And you can do some parent.proxyext to find the device that you needed. You can also go through Program Services, clear all, find a custom BACnet. There should be a BACnet proxy ext. And now, if we wanted to, we could hit OK. And this is going to bring up every proxy extension of all of our points. But we could tailor this to only look at, like let's say hot water pump 1 command, pump 2 command. So we can actually find those objects. And we're going to search for whose parent.name. Or it could be parent.parent. I think it's parent.parent. No, whose parent.name is equal to hwp1 command. And so from here, I could then edit a slot, change the tuning policy name from default to rewrite. And of course, it doesn't work in the dropdown. You just have to type out the rewrite policy name, and it would change it. You can do this for a lot of other different things. So with a good combination of understanding B formatting and through the use of studying slots of components, you should be able to do many things in program service that I have not even showed you here today. Again, alarm extensions do not work the way that you want to do that. You need to create a program object. And I've got, I don't have one made for that, but again, maybe if we get into program objects later on in this series, I'm not sure yet. That might be something for another series, like a developer series or something. We'll get into that. But for now, that's all I have for you for program services. Please be careful with it, but have fun. Take some time to get used to it and have a great day.